Mars, you have another.
See, this is why I'm 50-50 on Billy Carlson. Because some of the things that he's talking about, I can substantiate. Some of the things I cannot. Now, when he was talking about the lights being on the dark side of this planetoid, Sirius, I couldn't find any information that I couldn't find anything in researching NASA, researching this planet Sirius, other than other people claiming the same thing. But I couldn't find any research that actually demonstrated that that was the situation. So if you guys can find it, please let me know. Please show me where it's at. But I couldn't find it, other than just other TikTokers talking about it, other YouTubers talking about it. But none of them actually provided evidence of the lights being on the other side of this planetoid. Now, there are a few problems with that whole situation. And that is whether or not the asteroid belt is within the habitable zone in order for it to be able to sustain life that as we know it and sustain civilization as we know it. Now, could there be a type of civilization that is able to sustain on a different type of environment? That is definitely plausible, but we do not know yet. We haven't discovered that yet. So I will leave that up to the we don't know, but it's possible. Now, and according to what he was saying, the parts that I can get with him on, well, no, before I get to the part I can't get with him on, I can't get with him calling Sirius a planet because it's not a planet. You see, in the early 1800s, there were astronomers who first recognized the planet Sirius. And they said, oh, there's a planet out there. But they did, and then they started seeing other ones. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. And after about seeing about a dozen of these things all being in pretty much the same area, somebody started thinking like, wait a minute, hold on. There can't be that many planets. And how big are these things? And when they started measuring them, they started to realize how small they were. And like, for instance, the planet Sirius, he says is about 2/3 as small of Mercury, but no, it's actually about the size of the United States. It's about 12 times smaller than the Earth, or smaller than Mars. I mean, smaller than Mercury. So it's only about the size of the United States. So that is how in the 1800s, they started to realize that this was the asteroid belt. Didn't actually know how the asteroid belt came about, but they knew that this was the asteroid belt. Something had to have occurred that blew up and created all these rocks that have this revolution around the sun. But what is interesting that I did like that he said that he didn't really get deep into is the fact of the Anunnaki story, which was passed down to the Akkadians and passed down to the Babylonians, that there is a story concerning the people of that time frame knowing that there was an asteroid belt. It was called the Hammered Bracelet. This Hammered Bracelet occurred because in the Babylonian and the Akkadian story, it is the god Marduk who defeats and kills Tiamat. And in his defeat and killing of Tiamat, he forms Earth, and the entrails, the remaining parts of him, form the asteroid belt. And this is how how the ancient Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians describe how the asteroid belt and the Earth came into existence in one of their stories. Now, of course, we have the story of Anu and Namu and the whole waters over the waters and separation and having their children, the storm deity Enlil and Enki and so on and so forth. But one of their other creation stories of the Earth is when Marduk took over, and the belief in Marduk took over, and then Marduk becomes the one who created the Earth by destroying his mother Tiamat in a battle because Tiamat wanted to kill all of her offspring, similar to how the Greek story has where Kronos wants to kill all of his offspring, and then his offspring rise up and they defeat him. This is a similar story that the Babylonians and the Akkadians were talking about in around the same time, if not prior to the Greek story being told, but they were separated. So at the time frame, so they would not, most likely were not telling the same story, but somehow came up with the same story. Now there could have been an interchange because they were trading in and around the Mediterranean, but we just don't know for sure. I would probably lean towards the Greeks and the Akkadians being in contact with each other and these stories being exchanged with each other. But when we look at it, it is plausible that somehow, some way, the Akkadians and Sumerians, well, mainly the Akkadians and the Babylonians, knew about the asteroid belt long before it was discovered by modern astronomists I think around 1801 time frame. But it's very interesting, something that's worth going out and researching. Definitely they're not planets, so Sirius is not a planet. It's just a big ass piece of the asteroid belt. And where that asteroid belt came from, was it because of a collision of planets? Was it because of a collision of moons? We don't fully know yet until we actually go and start landing on these asteroids and start finding out more information about them and dating them and seeing what type of material are actually on them. So what do you guys think? Subscribe to the channel. Always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.